Book. A book is a countable noun. Book means printed pages. Book means printed pages and is a countable noun. A book is a set of printed pages that are held together in a cover so that you can read them. A book is a written text that can be published in printed or electronic form. Example: a cookery book, a medicine book, a drug book, a pharmacy book, a business book, a finance book, a grammar book, an English grammar book, a Vietnamese grammar book, an English-Vietnamese dictionary book. He has a new book published. He has a new book out. Have you read any good books recently? She wrote a book on car maintenance. I've just started reading a book by Graham Greene. A cat-related book, a kitty book, a cat book, a wild animal book, an animal-related book, book about, book on, a book about cats, a book on cats, a book about dogs, a book about birds, a book about wild animals, a book about creatures in the wild, a book about animals in the wild. Book means to write in. A book is a countable noun. Book means to write in and is a countable noun. A book is a set of sheets of paper held together in a cover so that you can write on them. A book is a set of pages that have been fastened together inside a cover to be read or written in. Example: a hardback book, a paperback book, a black address book, a notebook. I took a book with me to read on the plane. He writes all his expenses in a little book he carries with him. He writes down all his expenses in a little book he carries with him. Book is a set of things. A book is a countable noun. Book means a set of things and is a countable noun. A book is a set of things, such as stamps, matches, or tickets, held together inside a paper cover. Book means a number of one type of thing fastened together flat inside a cover. A book is a collection of one type of thing fastened together flat inside a cover. Example: a checkbook, a checkbook, a book of stamps, a book of tickets, a book of matches. Book is a part of a book. A book is a countable noun. Book is a part of a book and is a countable noun. A book is one of the parts that a very long book, such as the Bible, is divided into. Book of. Example: the book of Isaiah, the book of Job, the book of Genesis. She published a book of poems and followed it up with a novel. More examples. We're reading a different book this week. In the last 2 years, the book has only sold 200 copies. I have to return my library books on the 6th of July. He's the author of several hugely successful children's books. A book by Charles Dickens. A book of matches. An address book. A second-hand book dealer. I'm reading a book about a little girl who was a slave in 19th century Atlanta. Eric's reading a book by William Faulkner. Seth was paging through a book. She wrote a book of short stories, but it never got published. Do you have any books on astronomy? We cannot have the voluptuous strengths of new technology, but books have the attraction of maturity. In September 1930, on a day selected by his grandmother, he opened an exercise book and waited for inspiration. That is the sad story Jim Carlton tells in his forthcoming book about Apple Computer. It's a pretty good book. I think Muriel Spark is a great writer, and I love her books. His book had to be published by the obscure Middle Passage Press. I went and got a library book about it. The book was an immediate success. Have you read this book? What book are you reading at the moment? It told me he would write books of status. Book about, book on. A book about plants. This, I emphasize, is not a book about military management. But to leave it there is about as practical as learning to fly an airplane by reading a book on the subject. A book on the subject has been commissioned for publication in 1987. He broke for drugs, booze, and hookers and wrote a good book about a bum existence. He called to ask how people were liking the book about his execution. The books about children with ponies were books from the library. Here we were in a restaurant where books on croquet lay scattered around the place. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your interest.